The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Talkin' Buds Leaf Show. We are back hot off the heels of the first and second place teams in the National Hockey League going toe-to-toe on Hockey Night in Canada. What's your main takeaway from watching? This is kind of like a delayed post-game show that we're doing. What's your main takeaway from watching the Boston Bruins?
Well, first of all, I love the games where you can just be put back into being a diehard Leafer.
Yes.
And there's only a handful of teams that make you feel that way.
And we're at a point with this team, and it's a good thing. This is no complaint. But the reality is we're at a point with this team where they're set. Like, barring some sort of disaster, let's knock on wood on that, but they're playing Tampa in the first round. So you're kind of playing out the stretch, which, to your point, is what made Saturday night so fun. This is a measuring stick game.
Yeah, Tampa, Boston, and then they have some good chemistry with some of the Canadian teams like the Winnipeg and Edmonton. But the number one thing that stuck out to me during that hockey game against the Bruins, and I thought both teams played pretty well. I thought it was a pretty even game. But the number one thing is I don't think the Leafs have a matchup for Bergeron, Pasternak, and Marchand when they're on the ice together. I don't think Marner, Matthews, Bunting, Nylander, Bunting, Tavares, Marner, whoever can match up against that line. That line is so good in the offensive zone, and they're so good at transitioning the puck, and they're so good at finding each other. Like, they just get open and they find each other. And I just don't think when it comes down to it that the Leafs have a matchup for that, because that last goal in the third period, even though they weren't on the ice for that goal, the shift before that, Matthews, Marner, and Bunting were completely hemmed in the D zone for a minute, and it just created all the momentum. And like, how many chances did Marchand have to score last night? And that line is just unbelievable.
That was my biggest takeaway. This is not your Zdeno Chara big, bad, mean, run you out of the rink Bruins anymore. This is a fast, skilled, my God, they are so efficient. Like, to your exact point, they're so efficient in the offensive zone. They get that puck down below the goal line, and it is like, oh my God, the amount of times that it would start at the point and they would ring it around to the other side and they just move with such speed and efficiency, and the Leafs are running around. And like you said, I don't think the Leafs played bad at all. I think the Leafs hung in there with them all night. But yes, you see why this team is on a historic pace, because they are just, my God.
Yeah, the way they move the puck around, it's not even just like the speed they skate, it's how fast they move the puck, which I think is something the Leafs sometimes struggle with. Is the Leafs are a fantastic transition hockey team. Like, they can go from the D zone to the O zone very quickly and create chances. But when it comes to having the puck in the O zone and you're cycling around and you're moving it around and guys are trying to get open, I find the Leafs kind of struggle sometimes, and they get a little stagnant with that. But with the Bruins, it's like they just know what to do. They're so good at positioning themselves to get open in the O zone. And I saw so many times last night where the third forward for the Bruins would slip open, and then they'd find him and get a good chance on Murray. So they're a damn good hockey team, and their defense is fast too. It's not even their forwards; their defense is fast.
A lot of they had Andrew Raycroft on 590 and 1050, who's an analyst for the Bruins, and people like, what is it with this team? Like, why are they on this historic pace? And he's just like, everyone's bought in, and everyone is just pulling in the same direction. And you that sounds cliche. Like, when you hear him say that, you're like, yeah, that's what everybody says. But then you watch and you're like, oh no, they're like, yes, This team is, everybody is on the same wave. They come at you at your point. Every line just comes at you in the offensive zone. This is like 5 minutes here of you and me sitting gushing about the Boston Bruins, but it's so impressive.
It's just like Patrice Bergeron. Like, I don't want to say he's underrated, but I think in 20 years from now, when all this generation is retired,
you'll look back.
He might not have the stats to show that he scored 500, 600 goals, but holy shit, he's one of the best hockey players to ever in this generation for sure. Like, he is unbelievable. Matthews and Marner cannot. I mean, Matthews and Tavares cannot match up on a shift-to-shift basis with this guy, because he can score just as well as they can and move the puck, but in his own end, like, he's just, and his face-off ability, he's ridiculous.
Yeah, he is ridiculous.
He's so good. He's such a likable guy.
Yeah, I know. That's what like. I'm watching last night. That's what I mean when I say they're not the big, mean Chera Bruins anymore, because I'm like, I can't, because the Bruins are a team. Like, I was texting you last night. That music just lives in my head, man.
Kerncraft 400.
Oh, that every time they score, I hear that in my nightmares, dude. That is like every time they score and that building just goes off and you just see the deer in the headlights down the Leaf bench. It's like, how many times in my life have I seen this exact scenario?
I thought, I forget if it was Chris Cuthbert or Craig Simpson made a really good point during the broadcast that a lot of visiting arenas that the Leafs walk into, there's a lot of blue jerseys. That arena, there's no blue jerseys. It's all Bruins fans, and you can really feel it. Like, it hit. Oh.
That's why, you know what? I asked you a couple weeks ago.
That goal horn.
Oh, yeah. I asked you a couple weeks ago, who would you rather play in the first round? And I said, I would rather play Tampa, because I'm terrified of that building. I'm terrified of that building.
As we all should be. But, I mean, I don't want to get too negative on the Leafs. I thought there was parts of their game that could be better. I thought the goaltending was okay. Could have been better.
Oh, dude, Matt Murray makes that huge save. That's a completely different game if Matt Murray doesn't make that huge save right off the bat.
Yeah, and I thought everyone was pretty good. But I watched them against the Bruins, and we've been talking about what the Leafs need to add. And when I watch them play the Boston Bruins, it makes me think that they need a forward and a defenseman, because I thought Justin Holl and Mark Giordano look overwhelmed. I thought
Connor Timmins
had a
rough
bad night.
Yeah.
Morgan Rielly hasn't been playing his best hockey since he's come back.
Okay.
And another thing about Morgan Rielly too is, can we find a partner for this guy? Like, he plays with somebody different every single night. But I do want to mention that I thought Timothy Liljegren had one of the best games he's ever played in his career.
Timothy Liljegren, like, I'm watching last night, and some Leaf player goes and rubs some Boston guy out on the boards and takes his man. I'm like, who's that? I'm like, that's Timothy Liljegren.
He had a hell of a hockey game. I thought Sandin was pretty good too.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about Morgan Rielly. He's getting a lot of flack on Twitter, I'm noticing, of people who are like really like, oh, there's Morgan Rielly on the ice for another goal. Oh, there's Morgan Rielly on the ice for another goal. And I've been pretty vocal about, I find Morgan Rielly frustrating to watch sometimes. And I think the world of the guy as a person. He was my pick a few years ago when it was like, who's going to be the captain? Who's going to be the captain? I was like, Morgan Rielly. We drafted him. He's a leader. Like, put it on him. Like, I think the world of the guy. You made a great point last night, because I texted you and I said, you know, I called him a riverboat gambler, because he does. He takes huge chances. And you said, maybe he's at a point in his career where he does need to adjust the way he plays a little bit and not take so many risks, because he's -3 last night. So, and you're right. Part of it is the partner. Like, Connor Timmins had a rough night, but I don't know, man. Like, we can't have him doing this. Like, we can't get into a playoff series and he's cheating for off. Because another thing too, the offense isn't coming.
Yeah, that's the problem. I feel he hasn't scored in 30-something games, and I feel like it's just really weighing on him. But at the end of the day, like, it doesn't really matter, man. Like, just he's a good enough defenseman where just him moving the puck with his speed is going to get him some apples. Like, he's going to get apples no matter what. Like, he hasn't scored. I really want him to get that goal because I feel like it's really weighing on him. But the thing that will always make you feel good about Morgan Rielly is he's always going to be able to skate with the best of them.
Yeah, no, listen, you're right though. You're like,
the offense, like, even when he's coming in and he has offensive opportunities, like he's missing the net.
Yeah.
He's just not crisp, and maybe he just needs to focus on his own position for a bit before he gets back to the way he was a couple years ago, where he had close to 20 goals and he had like 70 points. Maybe he's not that guy anymore. Maybe it is, but for now, if it's not coming, maybe he should just kind of focus on playing his position the best he possibly can without jumping in as much.
When he was on the shelf a few weeks ago, we talked pretty much exclusively the entire time he was injured about, wow, this team is playing so well defensively. Wow, Keefe has them bought into playing a system. Wow. And then Rielly comes back, and he comes back with his game, which is, like I said, riverboat gambler, cheating for offense. And it's no, I just don't think it's a coincidence that since he's come back, they're giving up better scoring chances when he's on the ice. He's not, because it's not his game to like lock down and play that sound defensive structure and focus solely on that. But it might be time to, like you said, it might be time to, because it's just, come on, man, you're right. And if he was going in and was being effective in the offensive zone, like, there is nothing that drives me more nuts than when he gets it back at the point and wires it, Harry Kane's it 20 feet over the net. Like, what are we doing?
Or when he's streaking it. This goes for any player. When someone's streaking into the ozone and they shoot and they miss the net, it hits off the glass, and it's basically just a breakout pass for the other team, and it's out of the zone, and it's just, yeah, he just doesn't look that crisp offensively. So I don't know. It's
couple.
Got to figure it out.
Couple more things from me. Matt Murray's the guy. It's very clear he's the guy. He was excellent against Nashville earlier in the week. I thought he was excellent again last night. There was a couple of them he would want back, but he made a couple of saves that, like, that game would have gotten away from them if he didn't make those saves. I'm here to tell you that Ilya Samsonov's job for the rest of the way here is to help carry the load to keep Matt Murray healthy in the playoffs. I saw an interesting thing on Twitter last night that I wanted to tell you, because you were always like a Freddie Anderson defender, and you were always like, this guy's, don't take for granted that when this guy's on his game, he's a really solid goalie. Someone said last night, both on their game, like, if they're both playing at the top of their game, Matt Murray makes me feel better than Freddie Anderson did. How do you feel about that comment?
I almost kind of just forget, like, it's hard to say. I thought Matt Murray made me nervous all night. I thought after the first goal, there's nothing he could do about it. But after the 5-hole with Pasternak, I started getting nervous.
Okay,
after
so
that.
You don't agree with me?
I don't think he's the number one. I think game one he's starting, but this guy's a quick hook for me, man. Like, I don't think the other goalie's been any worse than Matt Murray. Like, I think Ilya Samsonov had a tough stretch, but I think they've been pretty equal this season in terms of performance. And I don't know. I think Matt Murray does not make me fully comfortable. Like,
Interesting.
Neither goalie really makes me fully comfortable, to be honest with you. And I've been praising the goaltending all year, but I don't know. It's just it's kind of because they're not number one guys, and it's almost like they've been playing all year, but I still don't really know what I'm getting out of them every single night, if that makes sense. Like, I just don't know. Like, what are you going to get from Matt Murray in game one? Like, I don't know.
Hopefully you get some of what you saw last night against the Bruins. Like, you need those. I'm telling you, man.
He's
like,
capable
if
for
he
sure.
If he doesn't make that big save like 2 minutes in like that, that's a completely different hockey game.
We'll say that Linus Ullmark made like 5-10 bellers.
But you said it last night, and I totally agree with you. It's like, of course, the
Loser.
Bruins just fall into some guy Linus Ullmark, like nothing against Linus Ullmark, but like who the hell is Linus Ullmark?
He's been an
and then this
average
series,
goalie
just the
his whole
greatest
career.
goalie who's ever put the pads on.
Yeah.
Like,
But I just want to say this though. It's the game was the game. I thought the Leafs had a good road game. It could have gone either way. But at the end of the day, they gave up the goal with 2 minutes left. They fell us. I thought that third period they were incredible. They were physical. I thought they were taking the play to the Bruins the entire period, and then they just fell asleep with 2 minutes. It kind of looked like the old Leafs.
Yeah.
Like it was just 2 minutes of them falling asleep.
well, and it's the same thing with Tampa, where it's like these teams, these elite teams that are in your division that you're going to play in the playoffs. If you fall asleep for 2 minutes,
Yeah.
it's going in the net.
And it sucked because I thought didn't they out hit the Bruins last night? Like I'm pretty sure that was the first game where they like out hit another team.
No, the Bruins had 35.
Okay,
the Leafs had 26.
They must have come back. For a large portion of that game, the Leafs were leading in hits, and I thought in the third period they were doing an excellent job of being physical, and then the Matthews line just got out there with the Bergeron line, and they got hemmed in, and that was it. And like just the momentum completely changed. They also didn't get enough shots on goal last night either. I thought they could have fired more shots, but whatever. It's a regular season game. Let's not get too upset about it. But it is. They still did take the L in a very
leafy way.
Leafy way.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
Way. That's like if that happens in a game 7 where you're going toe to toe like that.
It felt like a playoff game.
That happens in a game 7 where you're going toe to toe like that, and then under 2 minutes left, they just score and win the game, and I have to listen to that song all night in my nightmares. Oh my God. Auston Matthews sits out 2 games this week with a lingering injury, but clearly not something that is like too serious. You texted me multiple times this week and said they need to pay Auston Matthews whatever he wants.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, where do you think he's at? Do you think it just wants to like really sit down and think about if he wants to leave this team, or do you I'm more in the camp of that. I think he just wants his big contract.
Yes,
and he'll stay in Toronto if he gets his big contract. And after what I saw,
it's really gonna tell you the kind of like what he wants, basically. Because if he says, you know what, I'm leaving, this guy is already, I've said it numerous times, this guy's already considered the greatest Toronto Maple Leaf of all time in his young career. He has the chance, like, if they, like, how many times have we talked about this in our life? If they win here, like, I know we're like, this team has cup aspirations, and they do. But let's be honest, okay? If they win a round, there will be parades in the streets.
I will be so happy.
Yes. And I think, and I gotta be honest, I've come around on this theory. I think MLSE is playing with fire by potentially letting Kyle Dubas go. Kyle Dubas, I'm going to come out and say, we talked about it with Kevin Mickey the other day. Kyle Dubas deserves a contract extension. Sorry, like, this is the number 2 ranked team in the NHL. They've had, aside from the first like week and a half, 2 weeks, they've had like an incredible season again. They're going to finish at the top of the division again. A huge reason why the playoff success is so tough, particularly last year, is they're in this murderer's row of a division, and they're going to get Tampa in the first round. So I think they deserve a contract. I think he deserves a contract extension. If you let him go and somebody else comes in here, I was thinking about that last night. Somebody else comes in here and blows this up. Like, who's to say that that's gonna work out?
The last thing I want anyone to say is blow up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
trades a piece. Yeah, I think anyway. Full circle. What I'm trying to say, a very long-winded way of trying to say, I think they're playing with fire with Matthews. Like, all accounts is that Matthews and Dubas have a great relationship. He really likes Kyle Dubas. I think a young guy like Matthews likes being in a position where they have a younger guy like Dubas running the team. I think it's like, that's a good look for him. Like, could you imagine if they had like, I don't know, like pick a GM, Like pick a G, but like
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's some good GMs out there though. Like there's the stalwarts like Doug Armstrong.
yeah,
and-
like Ronnie Hextall or something. Like no. The only guy, if you told me that we're gonna let Kyle Dubas go because we have it like guaranteed locked up that we can get either Julian Brisebois or Steve Yzerman, I'd listen to you. Okay. But other than that, no. Like, don't do it. Don't do it.
the Leafs actually have like a pretty good record without Auston Matthews in the lineup over the years. I'm pretty sure they're like 31-16-2.
Watching the game without
But
him.
I'm
oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Like, you got to pay this guy whatever he wants. Like, just that. The Nashville Predators are a very physical team. And I think if you amalgamated the Predators and the Leafs, it would create a super team. But they can't score goals. So they snuck out of that one. And then they go against they play Detroit and they were terrible and they just had no spark. And I'm just watching being like, I do believe at some point they're going to have to make a decision on who they want to keep between
Marner and Nylander.
Marner and Nylander. I feel like maybe that's the thing. John Tavares, like that contract needs to end. I love John Tavares, but especially you're watching him in that Bruin game, and it's like you're just not that guy. You know, like you're just not that guy who we can rely on to just like, you know, like you're not an $11 million player, as we've said year after year on this podcast. And I'm rooting for him to do well, but I say screw all the future decisions. You just do what you need to do to make sure Auston Matthews is getting paid what he needs to get paid to stay a Toronto Maple Leaf for life. And I don't care what any old boomer has to say about winning. He hasn't won anything. He hasn't done anything. You need this guy to be your franchise piece until he retires, in my opinion. Like watching them without him and just like he just needs to be the centerpiece of this franchise forever, or else I'm going to be very upset.
Patrice Bergeron is 37. John Tavares is 32. Patrice Bergeron looks like a 24-year-old skating next to John Tavares.
Yeah, and he's making a lot less money too.
Yeah, and it's like that's your point. Like if you look at those guys could like on paper, they're comparables, right? Bergeron and Tavares, they're kind of from the same era. They're on those Team Canada gold medal teams. But yeah, man, like yeah. But you don't have to make a decision on like John Tavares at the end of his contract's probably going to retire.
Do you think?
Yes. I don't think John Tavares at the end of his contract is going to go, I want to sign another 5-year deal. Like, and if he does, the only way he's staying here is if he takes a monster pay cut.
Yeah.
So
the biggest pay cut in NHL history.
So I don't think how many years does he have left on his deal? Let's take a look. He has 2 more years after this one at $11 million. So he's under contract until the 24-25 season.
Be interesting to see what Boston does with David Pastrnak, though. Like that, it's going to be very interesting to see the number he signs at after this season because, like, he's an unbelievable hockey player. Like he scores just as well as anybody, and the Bruins are a team that they don't hand out big contracts.
Could William Nylander get to that level?
No. David Pastrnak has been at that level for a long time. Nylander's just starting to maybe get to that level, but I don't think he'll ever be as good as his other 88.
Yeah.
You know, it's just David Pastrnak. He scores just as well as Auston Matthews does. You know, like Nylander could live in the dream world all he wants that he's his comparable, but he's not. David Pastrnak is a better hockey player than William Nylander.
Yeah. I just think I'm with you on they gotta
long story short, they just need to
re-sign
do whatever
Matthews.
they need to do to make sure that Auston Matthews is wearing a Maple Leaf uniform for life.
And I think messing with Dubas is playing with fire with that. And I think like you made the point about I think at some point they're gonna have to decide what they want to do with Nylander and Marner, but
that's not because of the money. That's because I just think that as long as you have Matthews and one of those guys, like you're going to be a competitive hockey team. You're going to always be in the mix to make the playoffs. I just think at some point you're going to have to change up the culture of this team a bit. You can keep Kyle around, but Kyle can't keep throwing out small, soft hockey teams. Like, I feel like at some point they're just gonna have to find somebody to replace one of those guys who can bring something a little bit different than what they can bring.
Well, you're watching. We're watching the game last night, and Pierre Engvall,
Eric Lindros.
yeah, like, and you and Kevin Mickey blew my mind the other day when you're like, the type of winger that we're looking for is Pierre Engvall. If Pierre Engvall played like he's 6'5".
Yeah.
And then you watch him last night,
Dude,
and it's
he
like,
just grabbed the puck. Yeah, he looks like Pavel Bure.
Yeah, I know. Like he could be, if he just, some guys just don't have it in them, though, man. Like, some guys just don't have it. And he seems like one of those guys. Like, I don't pretend to know Pierre Engvall personally, but like, he seems like a gentle giant type, right? But it's just like, man,
he really
like,
put on those jets.
Yeah.
Like, he flew, like, you know?
What do we got to do? What makes Pierre mad? And then just go up to him at the beginning of every game and do that. Like, what really pisses Pierre Engvall off?
Oh, that was a nice goal, though.
Yes.
That was a very nice goal.
Oh, man. Can I just say something? The Bruins last night are rocking the Meth Bear unis. And whose idea was it to create? This is where the NHL just drives me nuts. Whose idea was it to create the greatest Maple Leaf jersey of all time in this year's reverse retro, and then just go, we're only going to wear it twice?
I don't know.
I'm wondering if
very non-NBA of them.
That's what this is where the NHL drives me nuts. Like, why can't the Leafs have like 4 different jerseys? Like, why can't every team have 4 different jerseys? Why can't the Bruins wear the black and gold Meth Bear unis, and then the Leafs go in there with the blue and have that? Like, why can't we do that?
But every time I watch a Sabre highlight, they're wearing
the old school.
They've worn it probably like 6 or 7 times.
Do you think maybe the Leafs? My theory is I think the Leafs probably have some sort of deal with Bieber, and like that jersey is their quote unquote 3rd jersey this year, and then they had to do a reverse retro because the league is doing it, but they're like.
I also think that Brendan Shanahan, when he came in here, just kind of prioritized like tradition. He changed the logo, and this is going to be, we want like front and center. I think he kind of got rid of that whole, like, he just wants it like classic Leafs attire all the time.
Well, you know what then, Brendan? Don't go and create the greatest uniform I've ever seen in my life and tease us with it in a Thursday night game against San Jose.
Those Sabres black unis and the Capitals black unis
are nice.
Oh,
yeah.
I forgot how
there's a couple
nice those jerseys
There's
were.
a couple really nice reverse retro unis this year. Like, there's even though everyone makes fun of the Meth Bear, I love the Bruins ones they had on last night.
Yeah, it was great uniform.
Yeah, and they've got the classic old school gloves. Oh my God, it's so
Seeing
good.
Ovi score a hat trick in those black
with the old capital
on it.
I know, it's so good.
That is epic.
It's so
that looks
good.
really good.
Yeah, I think the Red Wings have a really nice one too, like with the black and then it just says Detroit across the front. Oh my God, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right, let's look ahead here, shall we? Who we got this week, Ryan? Who the Leafs got this week? Let's take a look here.
I wish I could remember, but
the Florida Panthers on Tuesday, January 17th. The inexplicably bad Florida Panthers.
Yeah, they're not good.
President's Trophy winners last year. And then they go and get Matthew Tkachuk. And you're like, okay, this
He's having a great year, by the way. Like, his point production is not tailed off at all in a Panther uniform. Just didn't they give up some D? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm a Florida Panthers expert. I really could care less if they're an NHL franchise or not. But I'm pretty sure they gave up a bunch of defensemen, and they've kind of gone downhill a little bit. Oh, there's the
Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets on Thursday.
That's another team that brings it. Oh, there's a couple teams.
And then the Habs. Yeah, and then the Habs on Hockey Day in Canada.
Yeah,
next Saturday.
I mean, 2 regulation losses in a row. They gotta. It doesn't seem like a big deal. Like, they were due for some losses because they were going on such a good run. But if you look at the standings, you look at Tampa, Like you can't afford too many losses in a row. So
Yeah.
they better get back on track against the shitty Florida Panthers.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, the Jets, the games against
Pierre
the Winnipeg
Luc Dubois.
Yeah, are always must watch.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Let's get out of here. We'll be back at some point during the week to discuss this. Yeah, anything else?
No.
No.
Just another heartbreaking loss, and need to start stringing together some W's all over again.
Thanks so much for checking us out, everyone. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.